Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Special Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Josh McCoy. Alongside me is my co-host, Aiden Swanson. And today we have another very special guest, Charlie Ham. Charlie, how are you today?
I'm good. How about y'all boys?
Good.
Chilling. Charlie, you come from a high school that is known to produce kickers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's actually known as Kicker U, Westminster Schools in Atlanta. So it all started off with Harrison Butker, who obviously we know now, playing for the Chiefs, got a Super Bowl ring under his belt. And then following him, Trey Blasingame, who actually ended up going to play soccer at Georgia. And then Blake Gillikin, who was a 2-year captain at Penn State, who's now backing up Morstead for the Saints. And then Alex Gracie, who went to Stanford to punt. And then I was next up in line. And then I got two or three kids under me, actually. I know one of them is committed to Stanford, Connor Wesselman. So he's going to be following in Alex's footsteps. And then Alex Bachetta, who is highly ranked through Coles and Adam and Saylor and all those. And then also Aiden Henry, who's another kicker who's there right now. So yeah, we've had our fair share of kickers and punters go through the school. I kind of feel like Harrison kind of started it off, and everybody kind of just wanted to follow in his footsteps, and they've seen the success that he's gone through. So yeah.
Yeah, that's not normal. That's crazy success for a high school to have that many good kickers and punters. That's unheard of. I've never heard of another school that is another high school that is solely known for their kickers and punters. That's crazy too. So obviously you played soccer. Did you also play baseball in high school?
I actually stopped playing baseball before middle school because I had to choose between baseball and soccer, and I just always had a love for soccer. And obviously soccer turned out to do pretty well for me in high school, and I'm glad I made the right decision. Baseball's just too slow for me, honestly.
Yeah, and you have a really good friend here that actually plays at Tulane, right?
Yeah, he plays. He's a lefty pitcher, Luke Janetta. He's like been one of my best friends since I was younger. So yeah, he's playing. He had a great freshman year, so hopefully he can keep balling out.
Yeah, dude, the baseball team here was crazy to watch. It was really fun. That was actually my favorite sport to watch here at Tulane. Baseball was. We had a really good team. We had the same odds to win the World Series as LSU did last year, and then COVID happened.
Oof.
Yeah, so that kind of struck us differently. Aiden, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, quick question. What's your favorite soccer team?
Ooh, I got to go with Atlanta United just because they're a new team from my hometown. I for a while I was a Barcelona fan, just because who doesn't like Barcelona? Like just watching Messi and Neymar and Suarez play. For the longest time, I followed them, and then I kind of stopped watching soccer once I got to college, just because I really don't have time to like follow the games and watch them that much. But I really fell in love with Atlanta United once they actually got good. I'm kind of known to be a fair weather fan. Yeah, once they started getting good and were working their way to a championship, that's when I started liking them. And then once they won the championship, I started to go to games and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I was a big PSG fan back in the day with Zlatan.
Oh, Ibrahimovic. On
Yeah.
FIFA.
Yeah. FIFA actually is so funny what FIFA does to kids. Like I had friends that like never wanted to play soccer their whole life. Then they played FIFA like in high school and like they played high school soccer because like that's the
Oh
only
my
reason.
goodness, man. I mean, that was the same thing in my high school. Like, I think it was like seventh or eighth grade, and every single kid started playing FIFA. And like at recess or whatever we had, where lunch, where people would go out to the field and do whatever. Like somebody would bring a soccer ball, and every single kid, every single guy in my class would go out there, and we would have games where we would play like on one lacrosse net. Like we didn't have two goals, and we would have like probably 50 kids out there just playing soccer. Like everybody's on the field and like everybody's like, it would kind of get physical because you had a bunch of football players that like knew nothing. All they knew was FIFA, so they kind of just like push everybody over. You like yelling out skill moves and like yelling out people's names and stuff like that. It was kind of hilarious. But FIFA actually did do a lot. They brought a lot of people, made fans of soccer.
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy. How important is the soccer background for your kicking future and kicking right now in general?
Honestly, I think it's great. I think just in general, kids need to not specialize in kicking and punting. They need to because I mean it's just, I gotta be real. It's kind of boring. Like if you're going through high school and like not playing any other sports and you're just kicking and punting, like you gotta those kids end up being a little weird. Like you gotta play other sports, like experience other team cultures. You can't always be the guy that just stands out and like stands on the sideline and doesn't do anything except for kick a ball. Like I feel like that's one thing that kids, and my dad tells me this all the time. He's like, he's always like, I'm so glad you played so many different sports. And I feel like that really helped me with the culture. Like you don't want to just stand out all the time. Because like as a specialist, you're always the one standing on the sideline. You're not like doing like personally at practice. I get my kicks done at the beginning and I'm watching for the rest of practice. And my coach always talks about building capital with the team. So you kind of like got to fit into the culture of the rest of the team. And to do that, I feel like you need to have played other sports in your life throughout high school and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll say when I went to IMG and I started that process of just kicking, I noticed I felt like my kicking got worse because like I just like hated it. Like I dreaded to go out and like kick every day. Like it was just so boring. I was so used to playing soccer during the time of when we were doing the IMG workouts and stuff in the off season, and that's all I had to look forward to. I didn't have any games or something to look forward to soccer, and I almost felt like it was really bad for the overall picture of kicking and everything. Aiden, what's your experience? Because you really just kicked. That was pretty much it, right? I mean, you played basketball before you went to IMG.
Yeah.
Aiden's a hooper, man.
I don't know about that, but my 9th grade year at Jesuit, I played football, obviously, basketball, and then I did track. I just did high jump during track, but yeah, 10th grade, I just did basketball, or no, not basketball. I did track and football, and then obviously I went to IMG, and football pretty much eats up all of your schedule there. So that's how sports for high school went for me.
Yeah, but like Charlie was saying, the having the backgrounds of other sports, because if you're just that weird kicker, if you're the stereotypical kicker, that weird guy, it's gonna be bad for your whole team. Like you miss one kick, they're gonna hate you. Like if you're just a weirdo.
I think it's so important for specialists that are in high school to play multiple sports. I mean, first of all, like if you're athletic, don't limit yourself to one sport. I mean, who knows? Football might not go your way, and be better at basketball or baseball. So I'd say take advantage of the opportunities you have, and I feel like playing more sports also makes you a better athlete as well.
Yeah, you don't want to specialize in one thing and then like once you're in college and that thing doesn't work out, you don't want to look back and regret this decision that you made. Like you want to enjoy the experience that you have in high school, like all the different team cultures between like basketball, soccer, and football. You got to experience that and enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also like Charlie said, it's very, not just from a specialist point of view, but just an athlete point of view in general. Just specializing in one sport, especially before like, let's say your junior year of high school, and even really all of high school is really shouldn't be a topic. Like I feel like athletes should be just playing all the sports they love, and then in college, if they're not good enough to play for one, then they specialize. You know. Charlie, how's the lifestyle? How's your lifestyle changed from high school to college?
Well, my freshman year, it was a lot better than it is right now. I mean, just because COVID's kind of messing everything up. I mean, we're in a 4-star hotel, pretty much most of the hours of the day. Like this is where my room is. I mean, when I first came on my visit, I think it was before I actually got here. I stayed in this hotel, and I remember looking around and being like, wow, like this is just insane. Like it's the service is so nice, everything's so awesome. And now that I've been here for like four or 5 months, day in, day out, I'm kind of like, wow, this is not as amazing as what I made it to seem at the beginning. But my overall experience, I've enjoyed it. College is actually not as hard as I expected it to be, because I went to Westminster. It was tough. It was like the classes were tough and the teachers were tough. And it got a little bit easier as I got older, honestly, because like you learn how to build relationships with your professors and stuff like that, to where it makes everything a whole lot easier. And then once I got here, I kind of used the same techniques that I used in high school, with trying to like get to know my professor and stuff like that. And honestly, they automatically liked me from like the first day. Like it made school a lot easier. And then the football aspect, obviously it's a lot more than in high school. Like you're spending 6 to 8 hours every morning, and like you don't get any sleep. Like that's the one thing that I really miss, is like just getting to sleep in a little bit and not having to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to go to practice and stuff like that. But yeah, overall the experience has been great. I'm enjoying it a lot.
That's awesome. That's pretty similar to Aiden's schedule, except does Duke have all the players in a hotel, or like y'all are isolated from everybody else?
So the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. Well, I don't even know what class I'm in right now, because I'm gonna have like 6 more years. I don't even know. Just with this COVID stuff going on, I can't really tell. But yeah, what it's supposed to be, the freshmen, sophomore, and juniors are staying in the hotel, and then the seniors get to live off campus. But we had like some weird thing where after our first game, the seniors had to like move in here for 5 days or something like that, and then move back out, and they were supposed to do that every other week, or like whenever we traveled or something like that, but it never worked out. We've had a lot of stupid regulations with COVID and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm personally getting tired of this hotel and the 5 flights of stairs that I have to walk up and down pretty much every day, because they blocked off the door to the elevator. So sometimes it's propped open, sometimes it's not, and if it's not, I got to take the stairs, which kind of sucks. But
that's so rough.
yeah.
That's really rough. That's kind of like here at Tulane, like we're like it's like 2 people max in the elevator, and I'm like I'm in a dorm of like 1,000 kids. What do you mean 2 people max? Yeah, it's not fun. That's for sure. Aiden, you have a question?
Yeah. So, Charlie, what other schools were you looking at, and then what ultimately made you choose Duke in the end?
Okay, so my first offer was from Georgia Tech, and obviously being like 10 minutes away from my house, a lot of people expect me to follow in Harrison's footsteps. But honestly, I wanted to write my own story, so I didn't want to go to a school that like one of the kickers or punters from my high school had been to before. So after that, I got offers from like, let's see, LSU was one that was a whole crazy story. Also, I had like UCF, Toledo, I had a couple other schools, and I was getting like kind of towards the end after LSU didn't work out. Like I really had my mind set on LSU after I went down there, and then after, so yeah, let's see, I visited, and then came home, and they had told me I was the number one guy, and the next day I get a call from Adam, and he said that Cade York had committed. And so it kind of caught me off guard, and I never even got a text back from their special teams coordinator. So that was kind of a whole situation. But in the end, I was kind of choosing, but I was like getting looks from Georgia, and Duke was. It's funny, Duke, the guy who recruited me from Duke, who's one of he's one of my favorite coaches now, but he was texting me nonstop, and I kind of got annoyed with him, and I even told my I told my recruiting coordinator at my school, I was like, tell him I do not want to go there. And he kind of like, thankfully he didn't say that. He just said, you listen, like Charlie's going through a lot right now, like just chill with the texting and don't contact him as much. Like he's just uptight. And so he chilled out a little bit. And then I went to Georgia, and I did well when everybody else was there, like at their camp or something like that. And then Kirby asked me to come back because I couldn't take kickoffs because I was dealing with an injury. I think it was like my quad or something like that. I've had way too many injuries. But then Kirby asked me to come back, and my kickoffs were just not looking up to par with what they wanted. And so he offered me like a blue shirt or gray shirt or one of those. And I knew that I was a full scholarship kicker, and that if a school was going to offer me a blue shirt or a gray shirt, then I would find another school because there's so many options across the country. And then my dad, I remember even after LSU, my dad even told me, he's like, yeah, this is a big football school, but you need to make a decision that's going to be a 40-year decision instead of 4-year decision, which is what they hammer here at Duke. And also, I mean, I took my visit. Funny enough, Porter and I were the only two that took our visits. I think it was like after the Duke camp or something like that. And that was the first time we met, and we both ended up loving the school. And I felt like personally when I visited, it kind of just had a warming feeling when I was walking across campus and stuff like that. And I liked Coach Cut, and I liked KB, who's my special teams coach now. I kind of just liked everything about it. And it's known as like one of the top universities across the country for academics as well. So I kind of wanted the best of both worlds. So that was what kind of made me choose Duke.
Yeah, that's a lot different story than Aiden has. Aiden was just Clemson. I'm sitting there with him.
He was born about to go to Clemson, so
yeah. And then I'm just sitting there with him. He's like, "Holy crap, it's Dabo!" And I'm like, well, lucky you, huh? Lucky you. Easy story. I've heard a lot of stories similar to Charlie's about a school saying you're their number one, and then we've all heard these stories, and then all of a sudden you're not their number one, and it's pretty common, and that's why me and Aiden hammer relationships and how important relationships are with the actual coaches, so you know where you're actually at and you're not getting BS, which happens a lot in the recruiting world.
I just want to say one thing is like recruiting as a whole is just BS. Like coaches are gonna say so much stuff to you, and you really gotta like filter out the people that you think are not being truthful. And it's really hard to do that as a young kid in high school. And I feel like having my dad helping me through everything, like he kind of knew what was going on. I'd show him my texts and everything. It's for the young kids out there, don't do it alone. Like have your parents help you with the recruiting process, because those guys recruiting, it may seem like they're putting so much effort into just trying to get you, when honestly they're talking to so many different guys. And like they know that if you commit somewhere, then they're going to forget you ever existed. And that's kind of what happened at LSU. Like I texted the coach back and he never even responded to me, like still to this day. So coaches are recruiting is shady overall.
Yeah, and that's not a knock on LSU. That happens all over. That's every school. Yeah. And also like the flyers they send you and the edits they send you and all that mess.
Those mean nothing, dude. Those mean nothing. They send those to 1,000 kids. So
Yeah, I mean, you might see your name personalized on the back of a jersey or something like that. You're like, oh my gosh, and post it all over your story. Man, that's just recruiting. That's just good strategies from big name schools that know what they're doing, and they've gotten kids. They know how to recruit, and they know what makes kids happy, and so they do that. But that's just recruiting, man.
Yeah.
one I have is, I think I touched up on it in the first episode, but I think Charlie could agree with me on this. Build personal relationships with these coaches, because I feel with Clemson I had a real good personal relationship with Coach Elliott, who was my area recruiter, Coach Pierman, special teams coach, and even Coach Sweeney. So definitely, if this coach isn't trying to make a personal relationship with you, don't even waste your time, because odds are he's chatting it up with another kicker, punter, who he has made like a really close relationship with.
Yeah, that's true, man. I mean, like, you can't just have a relationship over in your Twitter DMs. You gotta like go out and visit the schools and talk to these coaches pretty much like every day is a lot. But you gotta, like Aiden said, you gotta build personal relationships with coaches, just because, I mean, in the Twitter DMs, like they're sending those DMs to everybody. They're sending that mail to everybody. Like you gotta build the personal relationships. But on another note, I mean, you can't make a decision of a school because of a certain coach, because obviously there's been plenty of situations where a kid commits and then the entire coaching staff is replaced the next year. So you gotta like the coaches, but at the same time, like the school where you're going.
Yeah. Charlie, you said you knew you were a scholarship D1 kicker. How does a person or a high school athlete know they are a scholarship D1 kicker?
Kind of put yourself.
Honestly, you gotta have confidence. That's a good question. Every kicker should believe that they're a D1 scholarship kicker. Just personally, I had a lot of confidence, mainly due just to my success that I had in high school, and that I knew, like, just playing other teams in high school, I knew that I had a stronger leg, or I had more accuracy than most of the kids that I was playing. And so I kind of felt like, and I would go to camps and see that I was still doing that against some of the top kickers in the nation. So I felt like, especially after, what was that camp down in Florida?
Was it the Cole Scholarship?
Yeah,
Underclassmen.
Especially after that one, and I saw myself do pretty well against some of the nation's top kickers and punters, I knew then and there that I was a scholarship kicker. And I feel like that's what ended up going into my decision of where I wanted to play. Like I told you, I got that gray shirt and blue shirt from Georgia, and I knew that that's not my best. And I can definitely get my school paid for completely.
Yeah, and on the other hand, if you're not like Charlie and you're not in the top 1% of kickers and you know that, don't get discouraged. Just work harder. That's literally all you have to do, is just keep working harder and harder and harder.
Absolutely, man. I mean, the amount of hours that I spent out there with my dad and my brother just shagging balls, man, like it takes it doesn't just come to you like that. Like it takes countless hours of just practicing, like studying your own film and studying film of like professional kickers and asking people. Like it was easier for me obviously because I had kickers, and so many kickers go through my high school and punters like that. But if you find, like, reach out to people who are older. I mean, I get DMs from people all the time asking me tips and stuff like that. And I feel like those are some of the things that can really help you in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just want to clarify. Compare yourself, but don't compare yourself. It's really hard to like say that. Like you want to like see where you're at, but you don't want to let that encourage you or discourage you. Like you always want to stay hungry to keep working. Like you don't want to be like, oh, I'm the best, so like I'm gonna definitely get something, or like I'm not good, so I'm not gonna work. You got to like stay hungry and stay focused. And
Exactly, man. My dad always tell me, like, every single day, he'd tell me, keep chopping.
yeah,
And that's what Kirby Smart says. Obviously, my dad's a huge Georgia fan. So, I mean, that's one thing that kids got to take into account is just keep chopping, keep working, because you can always get better.
yeah.
One question I have is, I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, but I really don't think these rankings that like Coles and Sailor do really mean anything. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Charlie, but what's your stance on that?
I would say personally, man, that's a tough one because I did start getting more looks. Like Georgia Tech was down the street from me, so I was getting looks early. But after the underclassmen challenge, I did see, like, once you're out there, people will start looking at you and they'll start watching your film and stuff like that. But honestly, like, I don't know if I can say this, but I feel like people who pay, you can pay your way to the top. Like I don't want to say too much about it, but yeah.
I agree with you. I know about that, but let me rephrase it. So I'm not saying it's bad to be in someone's top 10, like you were saying. Like you want to be in someone's top 10 because you get looks.
Yeah.
I know these guys send out emails to coaches about their top guys and all that, but my question is more of like, in the long run, like say there's a dude who's ranked 30 by Coles, and he is goes and competes with like the fourth ranked punter in the class before him at a school, and he beats him out. Like how do rankings, like, how do you feel about rankings from that perspective?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you go to a camp, like I'm saying, like a college camp, like if I were to go to Duke and I was ranked, like you said, 30th, 35, something like that. Any you can be ranked anything. And let's say you're ranked like top 10. And I beat you out in a competition. The coach is obviously going to choose me over you because he literally saw what happened. Like he witnessed himself. In all these college camps, I mean, all these like Coles camps and stuff like that, they're great. But it's you can like go out there, and if you wanted to, you could put helium in your ball and like let the ball float and kick like 80-yard field goals, just because like you get to kick your own ball, you get to have like it's off the sticks and everything like that. Honestly, like going to college camps, what my kicking or my special teams coordinator wanted to see the most was, like, first of all, he like the things I did when I came to visit. The first thing I did was Porter and I were like throwing a ball back and forth as fast as we could. Like it had nothing to do with kicking. And then all he wanted to see was like live snap. He gave me. Okay, let's rephrase this. There was like a bag of balls, and the first thing he said was like, "Yeah, you can pick your balls," and I was like, "Nah, y'all got it. Like I really don't care." And that's one thing that he still like tells me to this day. Like, some kid who goes there and is like super worried about like a bunch of different things, they're gonna pick out like the best ball. They're gonna feel it and be like, oh, I gotta do well. Like the coaches are looking for regular people who aren't like so uptight and like play different sports. And like KB was giving me terrible holds, and I was just still I didn't complain at all. I just kicked the ball. Like it's more about the live snap and hold than it is the sticks at all. And like going to these, I feel like just when you go to these college camps, that's what coaches are looking for. It doesn't matter what ranking you are, what top 10 you're in. There's so many different top 10s across the nation, different kicking coaches and stuff like that. And none of that really matters. It's how you perform when you go to these college camps in front of these coaches for the universities.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you said, it really only matters the beginning. Like they'll talk to you probably more if you're ranked higher, but like once they see it, you see it all the time with walk-ons beating out high-ranked kickers. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, the Tulane kicker was a walk-on here, and is damn good now. So he's been nailing them. So you see it all the time with walk-ons at any school. Hey, do you have anything else?
Last question. So, Charlie, you touched up on how Georgia was your dream school. What advice do you have for any specialists who is set on going to their dream school, but they don't get that opportunity?
I would say, let's see. I was pretty much my whole life, my dad had hammered that he wanted me to go to Georgia. And I had the opportunity. Like once I was getting talked to by Georgia, I was super excited. But honestly, you grow up being a fan of like all you kids out there, you grow up being a fan of one school and you're hammered pretty much day in, day out that you got to be a fan for that school. And then once you want to make your own decision, like it doesn't have to be based on what you've been a fan of your entire life. You're most likely not even going to get the opportunity to kick at your dream school. Only a few people like Aiden are lucky enough to do that. So always have an open mind and like just get looks from, or just go, when you go to visit colleges, visit a bunch of different colleges. Like don't just go to your dream school, because the chances of you being able to get a scholarship or even go there are slight. So I'd say to all you kids out there, make sure that you have an open mind when it comes to choosing what college you want to go to.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Charlie, thank you again for coming on. We will definitely have you on again. I'm sure we'll get a ton of questions and come up with new ideas to talk about. We didn't get time we didn't get enough time this time to talk about visits and everything and what you should do with visits. So we'll hopefully get to talk about that later on. Thank you again for coming on. Aiden, do you have any last words?
No, Charlie, thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Oh yeah, man. Appreciate y'all boys.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Thank you guys. And this will conclude episode 4 of the Special Experience Podcast. See you later.